So in this video, we're going to continue up the microeconomic mountain. And today, we're going to talk about supply and demand. All right, so we're going to talk about supply and demand. There'll be another video that will take the supply and demand a little bit further, talking about shifting supply and demand. But in this video, we're just going to talk about the supply and demand curves and shifting the supply and demand curves. Okay, so again, in chapter 3, right, we're going to look at the demand, or look at demand, talk about the demand curve, consumer surplus, quantity demand versus demand, shifters of demand. Same thing with supply, and talk about equilibrium and equilibrium efficiency and single and double shifts of supply and demand. So first thing we'll talk about is demand. So the law of demand. Right? Law of demand says there's an inverse or negative relationship between the price of a good and the quantity that buyers are willing to purchase. Whether you realize this or not, okay, you experience the law of demand every single day. Right? When you go to the grocery store, when goods are on sale, maybe you go to Publix and goods are buy one, get one free, right? Or 2 for 1, all right? You typically buy more, right? You're gonna buy more, maybe stock up on those goods while they're cheaper compared to when they're full price, right? When they go back up to their regular price, typically you don't really buy anything extra, right? You buy actually less goods, right? So you experience this law of demand. When price goes down, you buy more. When price goes up, you buy less, right? That's the law of demand. You have that inverse relationship, all right? So the amount that you're demanding, quantity demanded, the amount that you're purchasing, okay, goes down when the price goes up. However, when the price goes down, you're gonna buy more. The quantity that you're demanding is gonna go up. You're going to buy more. There's an inverse relationship here. The thing about the demand curve, it's a curve describing the quantities of a good a consumer is willing and able to buy at alternative prices given a time period, ceteris paribus. Now remember, ceteris paribus from the previous videos, holding all other things constant, right? So the demand curve here just describes the prices and quantities. So see, you see here on the screen a delicious chicken tender sub from Publix, or half of one, right? What's the demand curve for that? Well, we can look at different prices, maybe $11, $10, $7, $5, and see the different quantities that consumers are demanding of the sub. Obviously, as price goes down, when chicken tender subs are on sale, right, typically more are sold. More people buy chicken tender subs when they're on sale. As price goes down, the amount demanded, or the quantity demanded, goes up. As the price goes up, though, less people are going to buy the chicken tender sub. Again, I could take a poll here and ask you, how many of you are willing to buy chicken tender sub for $20? Probably not many of you are willing to pay for a chicken tender sub for $20, unless you're really craving it or really hungry. Probably not going to pay $20 for it, right? But if I were to say $5, quite a few more of you would be willing to purchase that chicken tender sub. Again, there's an inverse relationship between price and quantity. So you see here what our demand curve looks like. Again, there's an inverse relationship which results in a downward sloping curve, or a curve that's going down. All right, that's got a negative slope. Okay, so you see here, as price goes down, as the price goes from 100 to 80 to 60, okay, so does the quantity. Quantity goes up. If we go from 80 to 60 to 40, quantity is going to 369. As price goes up from 40 to 60 to 80, the quantity goes down, 9 to 6 to 3. So there's an inverse relationship there between price and quantity. When price moves, quantity moves in the opposite direction. So again, our demand curve is downward sloping because of the law of demand, that inverse relationship between price and quantity. A couple other things about the demand curve. The height of the demand curve at any quantity shows the maximum price that consumers are willing to pay for an additional unit, okay? So that demand curve, we'll go back here. This demand curve represents the maximum price that consumers are willing to pay. Consumers are willing to pay less than that, right? Obviously, if you go to Publix to buy a chicken tender sub and you're expecting to pay $9 and it's on sale for $4.50, you're going to make that purchase, right? You're for sure going to make that purchase. You might even buy 2, who knows, right? But you're going to make that purchase because, again, if it's lower, that's great for you as the consumer. because it's now lower than your maximum. So again, that demand curve just represents that maximum price that consumers are willing to pay. Notice that when consumers have more of a good, they value it less. Again, we can illustrate that with our demand curve as well. The more of a good that a consumer has, the less they're going to value it. All right, and that makes sense, right? If you've got, it's a good example here. Let's say that you have one, I don't know, let's say that you have one jug of water left, okay? You have one jug of water left in your refrigerator, right? You're going to value that a little bit higher than if you had 20 in your refrigerator, right? Or maybe a better example, think about a favorite snack that you may have had. Maybe they discontinued it, right? You're gonna have a lot higher value the fewer snacks that you have available or that you have on hand. So again, the more you have, the less you're going to value each unit. The less you have, the more value you're going to place on it. So next thing we're going to talk about is consumer surplus. All right, consumer surplus. So consumer surplus is a concept that can sometimes be a little bit confusing, but is very, very important. It's the difference between the maximum amount that consumers are willing to pay and the amount that they actually pay. Okay, so think about that definition again. Think with me here for a second. It's the difference between the maximum amount that consumers pay. Well, didn't we just talk about that a slide ago? Right, the demand curve represents that maximum price that consumers are willing to pay, okay? So keep that in mind. The difference between the maximum amount that consumers are willing to pay and the amount that they actually pay. So for an example, I kind of use this already, but the chicken tender sub example. You walk into Publix, ready to get a chicken tender sub, and you're disappointed that it's not on sale, and you walk in and you're willing to pay the $9 for a full chicken tender sub, but you're surprised when you walk up and you see that it's the sub on sale this week at $4, or let's say $5. All right, it's on sale for $5. You're still going to purchase that sub, right? A little bit happier now. You're probably going to purchase that sub. You experience consumer surplus, right? You were willing to pay $9, but if it's only listed at $5, you save some money. You experience a surplus. You save some money. Okay, so if you were willing to pay $9, you only pay $4, right? Your consumer surplus, the amount that you save, the surplus you're experiencing is $5. Okay. So again, it's the difference between that maximum amount and the amount that they actually pay. So when we look at demand, consumer surplus is the area below the demand curve and above the price. Okay, so I think this next slide has an example here. All right, so it'll be the area here of this red triangle. Again, assuming the price here is at $4. At $4, 5 units are demanded. Okay, well, look at each of these consumers up here, right? If you want to pay $20, or a better example, $10, are you still going to purchase the good for $4? Absolutely you are, right? You're going to experience $6 of savings. If you want to pay $6, are you still going to purchase the good for $4? Absolutely, right? You experience $2 of savings. If you value the good at $4 or we're willing to pay $4 and the price at the store is $4, are you going to make the purchase? Yes, you are, right? You're going to make that purchase. So again, we can add up all these surpluses here to get a total consumer surplus in the market, which again is the area here of this red triangle below the demand curve and above the price. Okay, so again, how do we find total consumer surplus? We can use the area of a triangle, 1/2 base times height, in order to calculate our total consumer surplus. So in this case, our height here would be the difference between 20 and 4, which would be 16. The base here would be 5. All right, so 1/2 times our base 5 times our height 16 would give us our total consumer surplus. Okay. So a couple questions here. And when we go over these questions in these videos, feel free to go ahead and pause the video and try to get the answer and then come back and see if you get the right answer. So suppose Forrest Gump's willingness to pay for ice cream is $25 and Lieutenant Dan's willingness to pay is $4. They find an ice cream stand that sells ice cream for $10. The combined consumer surplus for the two individuals is what? Okay, so take a moment, try and calculate this out. Once you get it, come back, or think you get it, come back and see what the correct answer is. So if you got your answer, the correct answer here is 15. Why is it 15? Well, let's look at this. Lieutenant Dan is willing to pay, or first, Forrest is willing to pay $25. If they find an ice cream stand that sells ice cream for $10, the first question you want to ask yourself, is Forrest going to purchase the ice cream? Absolutely, right? He's willing to pay $25. Well, if you only have to pay $10, he's saving $15. His consumer surplus is $15. Now, let's talk about Lieutenant Dan. Lieutenant Dan's willingness to pay is $4. He values ice cream at $4. They go to the ice cream stand that sells ice cream for $10. Is Lieutenant Dan going to pay for the ice cream? No, right? Remember when we talked about trade, right? You're only going to trade if you value what someone else has more than what you have. Well, if you value the ice cream at $10 and the money that you have, obviously, at $10, you're not going to make that trade. You're not going to buy the ice cream. It's making you worse off. Right, so Lieutenant Dan's not going to purchase it, so he's not going to be included in the calculation here. So the total consumer surplus is just $15. Again, there's no negative consumer surpluses, okay? So the next thing we're going to talk about, and this is something I want you to star, underline. This is a very highly missed question I see every single semester. So if you need to watch this a couple times, please do that. This is a very tough topic, so make sure you pay attention. The difference between demand and quantity demanded. A change in quantity demanded is a movement along the curve. Okay. It is a movement along the curve, and it's caused by a change in price of a good. So if there's an increase in quantity demanded, we're moving down the curve, okay? So price is going down, right? So price is going down, and we're gonna move, price is going down, we're moving along the demand curve, right? So quantity demand is going up as price goes down. As price goes up, all right, as price goes up here, our quantity demand is gonna decrease, okay? We're going to reduce the amount demanded. So again, we're just moving up and down the demand curve. And I'll show you an example in just a second. A change in demand is an entire shift of the demand curve. It's a change caused by anything that affects demand other than price of the good. Right? Anything that affects demand other than price of the good. Right? So increase in demand shifts the curve to the right. Decrease in demand shifts the curve to the left. Okay. So again, here, changing demand, we're going to shift demand to the right. It's going to be a shift to the right or to the left. Again, the whole curve is moving. Changing quantity demand is we're moving along the curve. We're one point down to another or one point up to another. Okay, so make sure you know the difference and distinguish the difference between the two. So which of the following would result from an increase in the price of a good? So think about this for a second. Which of the following would result from an increase in the price of a good? All right, well, D is the correct answer. It would be a decrease in the quantity demanded. All right, a decrease in the quantity demanded would cause an increase in the price of a good. Remember, inverse relationship between price and quantity. Decrease in quantity demand is going to lead to an increase in the price of a good. All right, so in the next video, we're going to talk about what causes a shift of demand, or what causes the demand curve to shift. So I'll see you in that video.